We've got this great mission statement of proclaim Christ, nurture faith, and serve others. And what I love as you look at the story of this congregation is the way that that's always been who we were, that we've always been a Christ-centered church that was focused on service.
We have remained constant in the proclamation, in nurturing, in serving.
I hear lots of stories from the past of First Covenant's foundation being in service to the world.
With early Swedish immigrants coming and needing a place to call home and needing a place where they could express their faith in their own language and serve others, we have always been a church focused on proclaiming Christ, nurturing faith, and serving others.
In terms of proclaiming Christ, this church has always, I think, been one in which the pulpit was incredibly important.
The gift of God in Christ, that life and freedom and hope for everyone is there because God sent His only Son.
The message of Christ and His redeeming power in our lives is there every Sunday.
Pastor John Nilsson was the first one to shift the preaching to the lectionary. So the expectation is that you read the biblical text, you sing the biblical text, and you hear them preached every Sunday.
You know, God has always been with us. It's beautiful the way the lectionary just ties together these texts today.
I think that we have always, since I came, have always had a strong proclamation of the Word.
I think that music plays personally an important part of life in the church. For me, it is often a touchstone for memories, for feelings.
First Covenant's always been a gathered church. People have chosen to make the effort to come to this place for morning worship. And part of the attraction is who the other people are, but part of it clearly is worship and worship style. So people have chosen to come here because they value the kind of music, both in terms of pipe organ, choral music, singing out of the hymnal.
Now we have a variety of musical things. Obviously, we have string band, which is wonderful. We've always had a choir and organ.
I get to have a new perspective on church by singing and being a participant through music. I joined string band, which was a lot of fun, and I enjoy worshiping through music. This past year I've joined the choir.
Music for me can bring back memories or make me think of people that are gone or make me think of my life with Christ.
This is an incredible pipe organ that we have here. It goes back to the early 20th century. Both the prelude and the postlude are amazing. Many of us come to the front to hear the postlude and then applaud our organist. And we've had some very, very fine organists in the church.
Yule Fest, every year it's something I've looked forward to. It's kind of marks the beginning of Christmas and Advent for me.
But to be in Lucia was a big deal, and we all waited to be old enough to be in it. And I remember Paul Bjorklund called me and asked me if I would be willing to lead Lucia for Yule Fest, and I was like, oh, that was like I grew up. That was a big deal to be asked to do that.
It's part of our culture growing up, and I think it marks a maturing, and I think that for each girl in our group that we've all valued getting to be Lucia and having that time to shine.
One of the things this church has always done well is time, effort, money, and commitment with children and young people. So all the way from Children's Place, Kids Clubhouse, preschools, through Sunday school, through going to Covenant Beach or going to Cascade. It just seems to me as we look back on that the commitment to children and youth has just really been part of the DNA in this church.
I personally think that Christian education is very important. I think it's the building blocks for our kids. I think it's important for our kids to know that they are loved and they are welcomed.
There are in the order of 75 to 80 people who are taking some part in teaching the little kids, serving in the nursery, teaching adult Sunday school.
I think the classes that we have had in adult Sunday school class have always been affirming and nurturing for us.
Roland Johnson was the perennial Sunday school superintendent, and he was a real live wire, full of energy.
Roland would load his wagon up with large numbers of pies, cube steaks, and you'd go up to Camino Island, run around in the woods for hours.
And we'd go camping somewhere, and we always had cube steaks. And there was always campfires and good stories.
Evelyn Benson took the girls on the girls' event too. So when you grow up with Roland Johnson and Evelyn Benson sort of in charge, you're going to have a good time.
Have to mention that one of the highlights of the summer was going to Covenant Beach, especially during family camp. Everybody was there.
When I was a kid, we had a cabin at Covenant Beach, and it was such a hugely formative part of my life. That's where I committed my life to Jesus. It's where I kissed Carol for the first time. I think that in the Covenant, the camping ministry has had a lot to do with why so many people go into ministry. Just a tremendous number of people in the Covenant Church became Christians through going to camp.
It's important that our kids feel like this is home to them.
I've always been able to be with the kids, but also be with the adults, and I think that's something I really value with our church.
The fact that my children could come to church, they could be accepted, they could be admonished if they needed to be, has stood them all in good stead as they've gone on with life and continued on in their various ways of ministry.
You know, I grew up with good friends here at First Covenant Church.
When we were children, my friends at church that were my age their parents were also my parents' friends.
It was our social life, as well as it was a different era. We didn't have a TV, we didn't have movies, most of us, and so our whole friendships and social life was around the church.
And Skooksburg was brilliant in this architecture. We became more community by being able to see other people responding to the preaching, the singing. We can see each other. And that says community.
I love some of the small groups, the connecting groups that we have as a congregation, and the ways that they live out those mission statements, the ways that they care for one another, the ways that they reach out to others.
They each have kind of a little bit different focus. They each are connected into our service ministries, for example, the community breakfast.
Being a granddaughter of John and Nancy Nilsson, I hear a lot of stories about their ministries when they were here and Nancy starting Children's Place. When I hear those stories, I think our church has built a legacy of service to our community. And I view our church members as really being the hands and feet of Christ.
The church breakfasts have been going on, I think, most of my life. I remember coming down and helping with them when I was not a child, but a teenager. That seems to be a really meaningful time for this community, to have people come in and be served breakfast and be given a warm place to be for a few hours, and something very consistent, and obviously God's work with the poor.
We've more recently done support to Mary's Place, which is a day shelter for homeless women.
We have a combination of moms and of children ages baby to 18. And it really gives people an opportunity to fully serve and to really invest and become known in the community of Capitol Hill and Seattle as a congregation that provides safe places for people.
We've always been an outreaching church, and that's evidenced in the ways that not only the local mission work we've done, but also globally, active in Covenant World Relief and supporting all of those great projects that organization has done. We have a strong legacy of being a church that cares and reaches out to others.
One of the significant things that we've done in recent years is what we now call the Summit Building.
I'm excited about the day when the Summit Building is bustling with activity, when there's all kinds of great ministries and connection possibilities and things like that happening over there.
We're thinking of that Summit Building as a definite place for ministry, particularly to our community and into the immediate metropolitan area.
We have a beautiful sanctuary, and we're well located in the middle of a city that really needs us.
The city is now viewed as a desirable place to live. It's got a vibrancy and energy to it, and it gives us wonderful opportunities to serve. And I think that's key to the future of First Cov, is that, you know, we are a church that serves, and I think many of our members are here because they want to serve.
What's it going to mean as our city and our culture and our region is changing again for us to continue to be that Christ-centered church? What's it going to look like? Who are we going to be?
That's my hopes and dreams, is that we would be here as a beacon of light, as we're called, on Capitol Hill, and that people would start to come in the doors and find Christ as a part of their lives.
We have this incredibly unique circumstance of having 2 city blocks in one of the hottest neighborhoods in one of the hottest cities in the country. That can't be by accident. There is no way that God has chosen us to be in the Pike Pine Corridor in one of its most vibrant times without a reason.